I feel bad for the seniors on the team more than anything. That's why you play all year long. You know, you play to get an opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament. I feel bad for teams who have qualified for the very first time, whose kids, you know, dream come true, lifelong, you know, aspirations to play in the NCAA tournament. That they're going to be denied an opportunity. So when you put that into perspective with what is okay, that's the upside is they will get a chance to play for a championship. The downside is a potential loss of life, and even without loss of life, a potential of spreading it to someone who spreads it to someone, and everything that we're afraid of actually does come true. The fans, obviously, who look forward to this every year. Coach who's never taken their team to the tournament before and now gets an opportunity and taken away from them. There's a lot of reasons why they should play, obviously. My feeling, the minute I read that one of the players tested positive, I thought that was the beginning of the end. Because how can we justify putting our players out there and having something happen to them? I don't know that we want to be responsible for that, because right now every parent of every child wants them to play in the NCAA tournament, unless all of a sudden it's their son or their daughter that somehow contracts this, and then it's somebody's fault, you know, in the world we live in. So there's so many layers to this. And in the end, I truly believe they're doing the right thing if they cancel this.
If it was a year like Breanna Stewart's senior year,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking about a team like Oregon,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what do you think your feelings would be if that was the case for your team this year? Like, you know, it's a different perspective for you a little bit because you've done it 11 times.
Right.
But,
right.
you know, what are your thoughts on that kind of a situation?
You can take this for what it's worth, because coming from me, no matter what I sound like, is going to sound either self-serving or you're making this up. Let's say it was Stewie's senior year, we had never won one, and we had lost in the semifinals the other 3 years. I would be devastated for her and for that team. We won 3 in a row, and now Stewie's going for number 4 with Tuck and Ryan. You know, yeah, I would feel terrible for them, but not really. Yeah, I would feel disappointed for them, but not the same as, let's say, you're Oregon or South Carolina. I mean, I understand. Each and every one means something. I get that. But who's to say we wouldn't have won it this year? So I think everybody can feel that way. When you make a decision on something, the decision's either right or it's wrong. It's not conditional. So if the decision is don't play, and the decision was made Stewie's senior year, it's either the right decision or the wrong decision. How you feel about it, that's conditional. I feel terrible. Okay, but we're still not playing. I don't feel so bad, but we're still not playing.
What are you going to miss finding out about this particular group of players?
Let's put it this way. If the season had ended a month ago, I would have called the NCAA and said, is there any way we could not have this tournament? Because what our team looked like a month ago and what it looks like right now are two completely different things. So what I'm going to miss would be this young team just figured out how to play. They just learned what are the important things about winning basketball games. And now when you get an opportunity to put that to the test in the biggest moment, they're not going to get the opportunity to do that. So I'm going to miss seeing what could have become of that. So yeah, I'm disappointed because we were just starting to see the light. It had just clicked. And it was exciting while I was watching it. Yeah. Given the kind of year that we've been through here on in our basketball program, on and off the court, it's probably a fitting way to end it if it ends this way. Because it's been a struggle all year long.
Crystal, in particular, a senior.
Mm-hmm.
If this is, most seniors know when their career is over.
Oh, yeah.
If this ends up being the end of her career,
right?
How do you handle that conversation with her? How do you assess what her career was?
Yeah. We had a kid whose career ended the other day, with a fractured elbow, Kyla Irwin. And one of the conversations that we had with our team was about, when you're an athlete, you think you can predict when it's going to end. Well, the last game of the season is April 5th. Why? Because that's the national championship game. When your season ends like that with no prior notice, no warning whatsoever, I think for a young person, that's really hard to take. Really hard to take. And I know it was really difficult on Kyla. So for Crystal, who wanted one more shot at this, who's been to 3 Final Fours, and wanted one more opportunity to try to win the championship that she tries so hard to win the last 3 years, it's got to be very, very, very difficult, and it's got to be very painful for her. And it would be my job to sit down with Crystal and explain that as you get older, life doesn't get easier, and difficult things happen to you as you get older that don't generally happen to you when you're younger. Should they happen to you when you're 21? Who's to say? But you're faced with some difficult things, and if this is the worst thing that happens to you in the next 21 years, but there would be a time for mourning, I think, mourning the loss of an opportunity. And maybe I can explain to her that is not as painful as mourning the loss of someone. Do you try to frame it in something that makes sense? Although I don't know that you can.
If this season is indeed over, when you think back on this 2019-2020 team, how would you best describe what this team is, what this season has been?
It's been a little bit of everything. It's been difficult. It's been stressful. It's been rewarding in its own way. It's been a huge learning experience for our players. for our coaching staff, it's put us in a position that we haven't been in a long time. It's reminded us how fragile winning is. It's been another reminder of what the expectation level is here. It's tested our ability to be resilient with what's happened off the court. Yeah, there was a little bit of everything this season, and through it all, we're 29-3. Megan Walker's had an All-American type of year. Our two freshmen have grown up tremendously right in front of our eyes. Crystal's had to be in charge, fully in charge for the first time. She sacrificed a lot of her game, a lot of her ability to do certain things for the sake of the team. And in some ways has had her best year since she's been here because of the amount of responsibility on her shoulders. So, yeah. Some years you show up for practice October 15th. You practice the first day. You go upstairs, you have a staff meeting, and you go, wake me up in March. It's going to be a pretty smooth ride. This wasn't one of those years.
This may be an unfair question, but you've played the top 3 teams in the country.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a team that should have been the favorite going into this NCAA tournament, if there's a team that should feel like this was their year, understanding that a lot of things would have happened in the tournament, who do you think that team was?
I think those particular those 3 teams particularly can all make a case for why we're the best team, regardless of where they're ranked 1, 2, or 3. That to me doesn't really mean anything. I think when you look at the totality of what they've done, all 3 teams, who they've played, who they've beaten, what they look like throughout the season, I would say that, and I'm not saying they're the favorite or they're the best team. What I'm saying is, the way South Carolina's season went, I think they probably looked and acted on a day-to-day basis with no hiccups except for preseason, more like the number 1 team in the country, in my mind. That doesn't mean they're better than Baylor, better than Oregon, because on the day that we played Oregon, they looked like they could beat anybody in the country. And I've seen them play since then, and they look like no way anybody can beat them. So all 3 teams could make a case, but I think those 2 in particular, if they played for the national championship, it wouldn't be a big surprise. And I would be pissed that I was watching that game instead of playing in that game, so I wouldn't care who wins.
That takes us to, I think, my last question. What are you going to miss most? I guess it's a 2-part question. What are you going to miss most about participating in the NCAA tournament? What are you going to miss most on the men's side about watching the NCAA tournament?
Yeah. Uh, Again, I go back to it's the only reason you play the games. It's the only reason you get up in the morning in September and go work out. It's the only reason you scrape and fight and try to cajole your team from October to March is to have an opportunity to play on those 3 weekends if possible. So all of a sudden it's not there. It's it's an incredible letdown, and to me the getting ready for the games was to me the greatest thing. Like, we don't know who we're going to play. We find out on Monday who we're going to play, and then we go, okay, these are our choices, and now how do we get ready for who might win between now and when we play, either Friday or Saturday. And then if you win that game, you got one day to get ready for the next team, and then you got to do it all over again the following week. To me, that was the best part, the excitement of getting ready to play the next game, and then the incredible angst and nervousness and nauseousness that comes from actually playing in those games, because you think we're the number one seed, we're undefeated in years that we've been at, and we're playing a 16 seed who, if this was November, we could win, not come in and play the second half. And now all of a sudden you're scared to death, like everything's going to go wrong, they're going to do everything right, we're going to get knocked out 1 versus 16, and then it just gets worse every game after that. So you say, well, you're actually going to miss that feeling? Yeah, I'm going to miss that feeling. I'm going to miss the way the kids, the way they practice during that time of the year, because it's completely different. The look on their faces, every time we get on a plane to go someplace to play, when we land at the Final Four, shoot around when they first walk into the big arena, all the things that go into actually playing the game. Yeah, that I've become accustomed to that all these years. And now you're going to have an entire month where that doesn't exist. And on the men's side, be honest with you, Rebecca, you know what I'm going to miss? I'm going to miss the way the fans treat this tournament. I got to tell you, they can talk about any other sporting event, and I get it. There's a lot of great sporting events in this country. But I don't know anything that brings the entire country together in one singular purpose, and that is filling out your bracket for the men's NCAA basketball tournament. Now, no disrespect to our game, the women's game, but it just doesn't generate that, and everybody knows that. And I'm not talking about the billions of dollars. I'm talking about every single person has an opinion on who's going to win. And you don't get that. You don't get that with the Super Bowl. You don't get that in, the World Series or, the NHL, any of that stuff. The only time you get it is during those 3 weeks, and your bracket is still alive, or you're still beating that person that you have this competition with, your bracket and their bracket. To me, the excitement that exists, and we've had a couple games in Hartford last year on the men's side, going down there and going to a game, to me, it's the greatest event ever. And I've been fortunate enough to be at a men's Final Four in person. And that's what gets my blood flowing, watching the way the fans treat it. And then to add the capper on that, the kid from Villanova just turning around right after the kid from North Carolina made an impossible shot and flips it, and the kid from Villanova makes a three, and Jay goes, got it. And you go, like, even now, I'm like, I can't even talk about it. those are the kind of moments that when they thought up this tournament, that's what they were dreaming about. And it's happened so many times, in so many ways. You know, this is a big part of America that's going away. This is. And I got to tell you, I've been around when they canceled the World Series. I remember that. They didn't have a World Series. And I think, listen, nobody's a bigger baseball fan than me. This may be the biggest thing that's ever happened in sports as far as fan participation is concerned and what that entails. And I've experienced all that other stuff. I've experienced strikes where the season's gone. Nothing's going to top this. Nothing.